What's happening, chaps? Welcome back to Chaps Chat for episode 5 with myself, Oliver.
And me, Dom.
This episode, we will be going into detail and opening up the discussion on having conversations with your family about mental health, the benefits, the downsides, and how we just generally feel approaching that topic. So, firstly, Happy New Year, bruv.
Yeah, Happy New Year, brother.
All
good to be here.
Good to be here,
big
mate.
year on the horizon.
Yeah, good Christmas.
Yeah, it was all right, mate. It was all right. Pretty standard. The older you get, it loses a little bit of the novelty, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's it, mate.
But yeah, it was decent with family members. Obviously, went out a little bit here and there. Enjoyed the New Year's. So, yeah, can't complain. Back at it now, though, mate.
Back at it, mate. We're
That's
back.
it.
We're stronger. We're better. And do you know what? Just before the New Year's, someone said on Instagram what was our goals for this year.
Yeah.
So just to get it out there again, we just generally, in all terms of Chaps Chat, want to get bigger.
Yeah.
We want to be more helpful, and the main goal to reach out to as many people as possible, right?
That's it. Yeah, just hopefully we can increase the number of people that take something from this and we help, and hopefully the number of people that reach out to us, because obviously we really want to, we are going to be bringing people on the podcast, but we would love to have some more people come towards us and obviously be open to telling their story, or so definitely do reach out to us about that if it's something you would consider. And obviously we talk through everything before we actually go and film anything, so yeah, definitely do give us a shout on that one.
We do have a process. It's not just
yeah. I know it looks a bit all over the gaff, yeah, but believe me, like, we know what's going on over here.
We're on the ball.
Yeah, apparently.
But no, good, mate. Well, listen, new year anyway. We're on to new discussions, new topics. So yeah, this episode, a really big one. And I think this one is going to be extremely beneficial. So make sure you're listening closely. But yeah, so having conversations with family members about mental health.
Yeah.
So, of course, it's difficult to do that, to approach family members, to approach friends, to approach anyone. We sort of shared our experiences on going to the GPs, going to talking therapies, the referral side of things, but we haven't discussed this yet. So just to start off, what do you think is the best way to approach a family member?
So for me personally, I'll the best way I would say, and this is kind of what I did, is just to kind of maybe go and, at first for me, it was one person that I spoke to, and it was kind of, I approached them and said, look, like, I think I need to have a chat with you about something fairly serious. That's just what I said first of all. Okay. Then, because like, it could be going out and just saying it straight away. Sometimes you never know how you're going to catch the person you want to say it to. Yeah. So obviously with it being quite a difficult conversation to have with a family member or friend, but from the point that it's not going to be nice for them to know that you're feeling like this, you probably want to find the right time just where maybe they're not working, they haven't got anything, responsibilities, and they've got a bit of time to process what you're about to tell them. And then for me, I just sat down and I said, just really look, I'm just to let you know, for a little while, I've been feeling shit, and it's just like, it's got to that point now where it's so bad that I felt like I need to have a conversation with someone and tell you. And I think having that conversation, the first step, you can be surprised by some of the answers you get back originally from someone. Maybe they might have had an inkling. You never know. Sometimes these things are visible, but that's how I would approach it. Just maybe, I'm not going to call it a meeting, so that sounds very formal, but approaching the first kind of discussion with someone. And that's a difficult enough point to get to in itself. Like 100%. Even to be at a point where you say, oh, I'm actually going to talk to someone about this close to me, it's difficult to get there, but to then go and do it, I would just recommend that you're in a circumstance where you feel comfortable and you're in a comfortable setting, just because it probably will be quite an emotional conversation.
Definitely. As we say, firstly, mate, hats off, well done for actually, recognising it and understanding that you needed to speak to someone.
Oh, cheers, mate.
That is such a big thing that we promote to our followers and our listeners, that's just the first step, is recognising it. And when you do get to that stage, when you are comfortable to do so, to speak to someone about it, no matter who it is, you've done a fucking good job. So yeah, well done, mate.
No, nice one.
But yeah, how fucking scary, right?
Yeah.
Jeez, it does take bottle to do it, because, God, it's there's a fear of that. Will they understand what I'm about to tell them? This is a really big thing for me. Will it be a big thing for them?
Yeah.
And yeah, of course, looking at the other side of it is, God, do I want to put this pressure on this person? But, they're my family. So if anyone's going to help me, surely it's going to be them.
That's it.
Right? So when you did sit down and eventually speak to a family
Yeah.
member, how did you approach it first off?
So I think it approached like when I was actually saying speak.
Yeah.
So I just kind of came out of it. It was more like I came out and said the initial look. I just felt like I need to let you know because I was in a very bad place where it had been ongoing, the depression, for a long time, and so it was getting to that point. It's like I just don't know how to handle this. It for me, the initial feeling was a relief. So that was my initial feeling from telling someone. But for them, I was just kind of said the statement, and then there was a kind of a pause after that, and then the person was kind of talking to me. They were quite visibly upset, to be honest with you, just because maybe they'd thought that something wasn't right, but maybe not to the extent that I had told them. So I feel like in life we get further with being straight to the point. So if you get to that place where you can speak to someone, then I would just recommend to come out and with what the main issue is for you, and just put it out there and lay it out there, and then that's the massive step even in itself, that you've been able to just to say that, like I'm suffering from depression, I'm suffering from anxiety, and then after that you'll just find the conversation's probably going to get easier, and that's what it is. It's a conversation with someone that you know and trust, which sounds very simple and face value to go and have that, but obviously it's very difficult to get to that point. But that's what it was like for me. It was more of, this is how I'm feeling. I want to change. That's what it was. Yeah.
And that's great. That, again, it takes so much courage to do it. So you should feel proud of doing that. For me, I think the first conversation I had was, I think it was with my mum, and it was years ago. I think I must have been about 17, and I was like an angry bull. So, I wasn't the person that I was now. So like when I said it, it was like, this is how I'm feeling it, and that is definitely not a good way to hold that conversation, or to start off that conversation, because the first thing all you're doing is, oh shit, that's a lot of worry for that person who's hearing what you're saying. Very upsetting. Oh god, look how upset they are, like what's going on here, and you're not able to discuss it and actually break down why you're feeling like this and how you're feeling. So yeah, I sort of wish that I knew that lesson back then, for what I know now. But over the time, having these conversations and being more open about it, has been the support from other family members around me, to be honest, because I've, seen these conversations happen within my family. So it sort of like eased me into it and made it seem like, it's okay that I'm feeling like this, and it's okay to speak about it. But it did take a while, because I just always had that guard up of, I don't want to break myself down like this, like I'm fucking tough, I'm all this.
Comes back to that stigma, mate.
Yeah, stigma.
That's what because that's what I'm sitting here thinking. It's like really and truthfully, we shouldn't feel uncomfortable to go and have these conversations, but it's the stigma around it, and I'd say massively around men's mental health, but around mental health as a whole, which is why it's almost like it's seen as like a taboo subject. Do you know what I mean? That people don't want to speak about. But I think that's why it's difficult, or even more difficult, outside of just how you're feeling yourself, to go and have those conversations.
Yeah, definitely. And one thing that I wanted to ask, so when you did have that conversation with your family member, did they recognize that something was on your mind, something was troubling you? Before?
To an extent. Not that time of my life was quite challenging anyway. Let's say there was I had a lot going on then, so it was like they would maybe notice that, but there were other issues at hand that maybe had, from their point of view, looked like they were more detrimental to me at that point, which they were very, like, without going into what it was what they were, but this was something that was like, look, listen, you seemed like a bit upset, but I never knew it was to this extent. Sorry, excuse me. And on that point, it was maybe feeling like that was breeding some of the other issues that I had in my life, which now I can look back and kind of identify. But yeah, not to the extent that I thought that they didn't think it was as bad as it was at that stage, to be honest. And that kind of brings me back, and it's like, because to be fair, obviously we've been best mates for a long time, and you were one of the early people I spoke to about that situation as well, obviously after the family member. But I mean, it's like, from my point of view, that must have been challenging at that point for you to hear that from me. And I mean, how did that make you feel when I was speaking to you?
Definitely challenging in terms of, but I just didn't like that you was going through that, of course, yeah, because we was friends and things, you know what I mean? You're my pal, and I didn't want to see you like go through all of that shit. So it was a worrying time in terms of that. But on the other hand, it made me feel positive in terms of, okay, do you know what? I think you've recognized what's going wrong here, and you're about to make a change, which is going to really fucking change your life. Which obviously you did, and you worked on, and you kept working on it to do it, and now you are where you are. So you know, I'm proud of you for that.
Yeah, thank you, mate.
And also as well, like when we were having these discussions, it made me feel a lot more comfortable in terms of what was going on in my own head as well. You know, that like a bit of relief in terms of fuck me, I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
So that's why it's like the whole speaking up thing is important, and I feel like that brought our friendship closer as well.
Definitely.
Yeah. So yeah, no, it was worrying at the time. Of course, it was. I never want to see any of my friends or family go through that. But having that conversation, I was proud of you, and proud of you still, mate. Yeah.
No, I'm proud. Well, mate, I'm very proud of you as well. And I think like just one thing you said there is like obviously that was the start of like things changing for me and stuff. But in a big scale of things, like taking the steps in our life to make sure our mindset is positive never really stops. It's something that you can be happy, but it's ongoing as well. And it's like also you've got to find some middle ground as well. I feel like because you can't be top of the roof happy all the time. No. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's finding that middle ground where you're just you as well at the end of the day. But just one more question I'll ask on that regarding my situation before is kind of the one you just asked me about the person in my family. So before I came out and said that, were you seeing things that made you thought I was feeling like that?
Yes and no, though.
Okay.
Because you're a big character anyway, right? You do have, you're a big character. You're fun to be around. So I feel you was able to disguise it very well. Yeah. But it would be more times when it was just maybe us chilling, yeah, or we're out and about or whatever, we're doing whatever. That maybe I would see that sort of side of you a little bit more. Do you get me?
Yeah.
But I feel like that's just because you might have felt a bit more comfortable, like feeling that way maybe around certain people.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I recognised it, but not to a full extent.
Yeah, difficult. Yeah, it's difficult to see sometimes. It's like I'll be honest with you as well. From where I've experienced that myself, now I see it a lot. Yeah. I see it a lot in people. I'll be around people a lot of the times, and it's like there's been times where I've just been like kind of out, and it's like I kind of seen that in someone. I kind of tapped them on the shoulder, like, "You all right?" sort of thing, and it's like, and they have had those types of feelings. So that's another thing. Like, obviously, that's a big step to take to approach someone else about it as well. But and that, it's not something I would recommend doing in all like someone who's, because these people weren't necessarily people who were my best mates. To be honest with you, people that I knew, but maybe we weren't, let's say, that close to have really on face value have those types of conversations. But sometimes in the moment, if approaching someone, if you do see them, you feel like they're feeling down, can be a good thing as well. And that kind of brings me on to kind of the flip side of this conversation. It's just like which I think a lot of people watching this will be in that situation where it's like, if you're looking at someone in your family or your friend and you're thinking, I feel like they're not in a good place and they might be having some issues, then how do we approach that to talk with them?
Yeah.
So and what I mean by that, just to kind of simplify that as well, is if you're someone who's not having any mental health issues and you've got someone who's close to you, how do we go about talking to them? Because I think a lot of people would maybe just dark away from trying to talk to them just because it's such a difficult subject and it comes back to that stigma. But that could be the difference sometimes. You never know. Like I would have rather asked someone something and got like stonewalled, or not. Yeah. Maybe that's not the right word, but them not been felt open enough to come out of it than not asked at all, because it's not on us, but you don't know what the repercussions sometimes of that 100%, is.
100%, yeah. And to do that as well, it's almost like, because in just, if anything bad did happen, you wouldn't have that regret. You would feel like, you wish you'd done more, but at least you was there and you offered your support.
Yeah.
Even if it was just a, how are you? Like how are you actually?
Yeah.
Not like, what's happening? You're right. Like, listen, how are you? Like, what's going on? And I think that's very crucial in like how you sort of ask the question as well, because it can just come across and someone be like, yeah, I'm all right, And you go, oh, okay, do you know what I mean?
Kind of brush over it.
Yeah, kind of brush over it like you're greeting
Yeah.
someone. So it is about actually, being serious, asking the question, and with a bit of intensity as well to let them know, give off that signal. Okay, look, I'm here to talk. Yeah. And it is hard sometimes because people don't want to talk. People do feel like they're being weak when they talk. People feel like, they're adults. They should deal with this on their own. And, people are worse off in the world and all these things. But it's not about everyone else. Yeah. And it's about yourself. And it's about taking care of your mind, taking care of your life and making your life the best that it can be.
Yeah.
With family members as well, it's good to do it because a lot of stuff stays within the family.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like it is your support wall, isn't it? Like, they're your family at the end of the day. And if you're grateful enough to have that, because not everyone does have that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if you're not grateful enough to have the family, then it's turn to your friends. If you're not grateful enough to have that, then you turn to the professionals. Yeah. Which we've given advice on how to do so in the second episode, I believe.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there is a lot of benefits of it, and it makes you feel a lot better in yourself as well, doesn't it? When you're asking someone that,
it's just like a literally is like for me when I've done that, it's like an instant bit of relief. That, like you've kind of put it out there, and it's like when you're thinking you probably more of the time before you actually come out and are able to talk to people, you're thinking that you need to talk to people, right? And generally, if your mind's telling you to do something, it's probably what you need to do most of the time. And so, like, I literally, that's probably one of the things that's been the most benefit for me. So I would definitely, obviously recommend it to everyone. And just coming back to that bit on like, how do we approach maybe someone who we feels in a bad place and talking to them? Like one method that could be good is if you have had mental health issues yourself before, even if you're not in that place now, maybe just starting up a conversation about your experience, and then that will naturally, as you said when I spoke to you about mine initially, then that kind of you thought like, oh, it's not just me sort of thing. So that effect could happen a lot of times, I think. And it's like maybe just talking to them about your stuff will naturally make them feel more comfortable to talk to you. And it's like there's a lot of different ways you can go about it, but sometimes it'd be the case of like, I would say just don't try once, and then if it doesn't play out, then give up, because sometimes it can take a long time to get through to people. It can take years. So we have to realise people go through their lives and never reveal these feelings. So it's not a case of we can just ask someone to talk a couple of times and then they're going to be open with you. It might be a case of over just years and letting them know that you're there if they need it, and then one day it happens.
Yeah, exactly that. You know what as well, I've clocked like within my family is that, once you have voiced and had the conversation about your problems and your issues and that you want the support, it's a lot easier then for people to pick up on when you are going through a bad time in the coming future. And that is great, because then people can pick up on that and act quicker, because you've already had that conversation and know that you're going to be open to having that conversation as well. And that will just come from learning from each other and understanding, he was like this the last time that I spoke with him. He was good. Now he's back to that. I know something's wrong. So now I'm going to have that conversation. So it's sort of like, the knock-on effect that it makes people familiar with your feelings. Yeah.
And it's like, I was just thinking something, and you kind of like, what you said there, knock-on effect. I was just thinking about it from this point of view as well. It's like, obviously I haven't got any children. Well, neither of us have children ourselves, but having children, like when you're young, you pick up a lot of what's around you. Yeah. So it's like, I think now we're in a place of like through generations, people just haven't spoke about this type of thing. So that's why people come into life and people still hold the stigma of like, I just couldn't talk to other people about this sort of thing. But if we're now normalising this change and normalising the fact that it's better to talk than to hold it all in, then hopefully over time, that would then make a difference over the generations as well, because that's the knock-on effect of that. Just because, and also I think what should be normalised is like we've spoken about, because for me, I know you said you obviously spoke to your mother, like it was my mother I spoke to initially as well, and obviously, but there are situations where it could be the other way around sometimes, where it could be the parent who's in a bad place, and the child or whoever, or the son, daughter is in a place where they're feeling like, I can see it, I want to talk to them. So it's like we need to normalise the conversation all round, and both ways, because like it does, because that's everything works both ways in life. So making that go both ways is just going to make the whole situation better as well. And to be honest, like anyone who you have these conversations with is probably going to make your friendship relationship a lot stronger as well. Because it obviously like it definitely did for us at that when we were young. Then anyway, we are probably pretty early in our friendship. But look at we're fucking sitting here now anyway.
Exactly,
so yeah, man. But
it's so true though. Like, and you know what? It just makes your life a whole lot better.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it's just a weight off your shoulders sometimes, and especially if it is someone, you know, approaching you about it, or you're asking someone how are they, and you know they are confiding in you things that are troubling them. Like, that's a really massive thing.
Yeah.
And you should feel like proud of that as well. You know that you've got the opportunity to help this person, because no one wants to see
someone trusts you enough as well.
Exactly, and you don't want to see your family members or anyone close to you suffer in silence, because it's just horrible. We know how it is. And it's just something that I don't like doing. And you know, I do speak to my family members a lot more now than I used to, in terms of like how they're feeling. I'm there to talk. I'm happy to open up them conversations. They all watch what we're doing, and a lot of people who do watch what we are doing are gaining that confidence to now come and approach and message us and speak to us, or when we're out and things, and that's fantastic.
Yeah,
that's the whole goal of what we're trying to 100%. Achieve here. So yeah, it's great. But can there be a flip side of it? Can there be cons of speaking to your family about mental health, do you think?
So, I mean, for me, I haven't personally experienced cons of it, but like anything in life, there's pros and cons, right? So just what the first one that comes to mind, which was a worry for me sometimes, is how is this going to affect my family member?
Yes.
Like that's the main one it's been for me, is like, how are they going to feel knowing this? And it's like, some people may be in situations where some of their family members, or the ones they might be most likely to confide in, have had their own issues. And it's like, so do I want, it comes back to that thing of like, do I want to put this burden on someone else? But it's like, I would say that yes, you need to have that conversation, because even if they have, probably more so if they've had mental health issues themselves, because you never know, that could then strike the relationship, or for them to feel comfortable speaking to you, or it just might be a benefit for them being able to hear that from you. But that's definitely the main con that comes to my mind potentially.
Yeah, same as that. And I feel like if, you know, the person who you are about to approach in your family is currently suffering with, you know, mental health issues to a bad degree, then you need to be wise on approaching that person, because of course, like, as we know, extended stress and extended worry can lead to extended depression for that person. So you have to be careful there, because 100%. It might feel like, oh my God, I failed. My family members feeling the same now. So it is hard to determine that. But of course, if you're aware that that person is going through, you know, mental health issues and are not in the best place at the moment, I feel you're there to give support to them, and if you can approach a different family member for the time being, you can always go back to that person when things are better in their life, and they might be able to give you advice. But when they're going through it themselves, it's good to talk and to relate to what you're talking about, but to try and get advice and benefits off it may not be the right decision.
I think that's definitely a case by case one. I think just evaluating like your own, that person's situation, and then seeing if you feel like if they're maybe in a place where they can withstand that at that point. Another con I can think of, which isn't something I've experienced, and it's quite, if I know there probably are people that experience this, which is quite sad. It's just like, if you don't get the reaction that you're looking for.
Yeah.
And it's just like, if you like man up or something along those lines, and if you get that, like, I can't imagine how shattering that must be for someone in that situation. Like, I don't know, I'd probably flip, to be honest with you. I don't know, like, I don't, like, not flip like in an angry sense, but that would probably make me flip, but make me much worse if I'd come out and said that, and someone wasn't receptive.
I think it would change your whole view on that person. And you would be extremely gutted. Yeah. So, yeah, that is a massive worry as well, because you don't know what's going to be said from the other person. Especially hearing that from a family member, you feel really let down and just not supported at all. And if that is the case, fuck them. You need to come and reach out to us, and we'll always be there to have
100.
a chat. If people can't recognise that, family, friends, acquaintances, professionals, whoever you are, that this person needs a bit of help and support right now, and they've put that trust into you to give that, then you should do your best to do that, considering that you love this person and this is someone important in your life as well. If it is you just don't know how to approach it, that's fine, but explain that to them.
Yeah.
That this is not familiar for you. This is not something that you feel you would be best to be given advice on. You can always be a listening ear. You can always do research and point them in the right direction and try and guide them to get further help when you feel that your help won't be sufficient enough. But to shut someone down straight away and criticize them and manipulate them, in terms of like man up or you don't know real life problems and all that sort of shit, avoid that. Don't do that.
100%. And if that does happen, it's probably just that person's insecurities of why they can't chat to you. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, hopefully, I really hope that doesn't happen to people. But I'm sure it does. Unfortunately, just people being people. But yeah, in that situation, that must be really tough. But like Ollie said, like obviously, if that does happen, like you got two man here who always chat to you, and obviously have been through that, are very understanding. So definitely reach us if you ever are in that situation.
100%. Cool. So, one more question on that is the outcome, the final outcome of having that conversation. Where did it lead to next? Did you have a further conversation on your progress of how you're feeling? Did it spark more conversations?
Yeah, definitely. Just in terms of like, obviously you already having a good relationship with that person, but it just added another layer to the relationship. And yeah, there were definitely conversations after that, and probably the person was more on top of, like, not on top of it, like, but more would come out and ask me, look, how are you doing, like checking I'm okay, because obviously that's not in the forefront of their mind until you really come out and say something like that, if they can't really see that in you. So yeah, it led to further conversations, and over time, just kind of not even it being a conversation, just it being more generic. And it's like, if I was feeling like that, I just know I can go and speak to that person, just tell them, and like we can sit down, and it's like we've done this hundreds of times before, so it gets easier after the first time as well. That's what I would say. And probably another repercussion of that is that, as I mentioned, obviously I spoke to yourself and one of my other mates at the time. That opened me up to then be able to speak to more people, and the more people I was able to speak about it, there were obviously the right people to speak to about it, the more beneficial it was for me. So that they were two of the outcomes coming off the back of it, outside of just the kind of the baitest one, is I just felt fucking better myself. You know what I mean? Which is the most important one.
100%. Yeah, that's great. Same with me. I feel it just made me feel better about it. But not until I got a bit older, because I was a bit young when I first spoke, and I didn't really understand what was going on myself. So yeah, when I got older, it definitely sort of made that, the relationship with my family members stronger. A closer bond that it got us, that okay, now we are like really talking about how we are and what's going on. So yeah, it has definitely grew a stronger bond. Extremely grateful for the people in my life who have been there to support me. How do you pay them back is you be there for them when they require it as well.
That's it.
But let's just have a little round of applause for anyone who supports anyone going through a tough time and is being that person's rock and is doing a great job at it.
Yeah, hats off to you.
Hats off to you. Yeah. Well done, Dom.
Yeah, cheers, mate. But it's like, bro, you know what? You get it back tenfold as well.
Exactly.
Like stuff like, even just doing the podcast, it's like we want to be positive, but we like, once I'm in a place now where I just want to put positive stuff out there for people as well, and it's like doing that. Like obviously, comes back to that. I know we mentioned spirit. I can't even say that word.
Yeah, neither could I.
No, I know. I'm gonna get it right. Spirituality. Oh, nah. Well, spiritually, yeah. But yeah, you know what I mean. Anyway, but that kind of obviously, like, I forgot what I was going to say as a whole now, but brings us together more, let's say. But
exactly.
But yeah, definitely, it does definitely tighten that bond, and it might lead on to having that comfortability to then speak about other areas of things as a family outside of mental health. That it's good to have, I guess, a line of communication running as a family, just because I just feel like more people don't talk now than probably do talk. Like, everyone doesn't want to say anything, like, but trust me, like, it's saying stuff that will probably set you free, mate. So
exactly.
So yeah, brother.
Just try it and go for it. And if you are a little bit worried about it and need to speak to us first before you do that and want a little bit more information on our stories, then please feel free to reach out. Or just for extra guidance whilst you're going through that process. Let us know about it. And yeah, just hopefully everyone takes note and actually, finds that courage one day to do so if you haven't already. Cool. So, on to quote of the day.
Oh, my favourite.
Favourite time. That's it. So, the quote of the day, one that Dom has picked out, it's a really great one, actually. So, be open to others, give people a chance. Be open to yourself, give yourself a chance.
Yeah, so I think it obviously links into this episode well. So to be open to others, us two being open about our situations to others, that was a benefit to us. And also there's a flip side of that, which obviously we mentioned around if you're thinking maybe someone else or family member is going through something, be open to them.
Yeah.
Because that might be what you need to help them back from them. And just being open and being able to be yourself will get you far in life anyway. You get a certain type of clarity from that you're not going to get anywhere else. And it kind of comes back to that thing is it's like kind of just more, not in a selfish way, but focusing on you and the people around you that matter the most. And then you'll find out other good things come from there. But on the flip side of that, could you just read out the last bit of it again,
sure.
just so I can go over that bit.
Be open to yourself, give yourself a chance.
Yeah, so like we all go through shit. Like, give yourself a chance, mate. Like, life is difficult, right? But do you know what I mean? It's like nothing is forever. Like if you feel bad today, you can change that today, but you can definitely change that to the next day, and that's why you got to be open to yourself. But also, it comes from that. It's just identifying that you have an issue, like being open with your feelings and kind of thinking, because it can be quite confusing if you're feeling mental health, bad feelings or like depression, anxiety. If you haven't experienced it before, you might not be able to identify what that is. But then you might need to go and take action to identify what that issue is, and obviously action something to change that. And being open with yourself and saying, look, I actually do need to go and speak to someone, is going to be something that puts you on the right path to becoming better in that circumstance. And I just felt like that quote itself just had so many links to this particular episode, and it works on every side. But that's the main thing that I took from my side.
Yeah, definitely. Like I feel the exact same. It is just, in the terms of that whole quote, it is about giving people a chance, give yourself a chance. Let people be open, let people be able to share their feelings, give them a chance when they are doing that, because it can be a difficult conversation for them to be having. So take your time with it, let them explain it how they need to, and sort of do your best to try and understand that. Now, to be open with yourself and to give yourself a chance is to understand that it's okay to go through shit, as you said, and just find that sort of inner peace in yourself that at least you're able to fucking recognize it and be open about it and get it out there that, this is an issue and I need help with it. It's not a bad thing doing that. It doesn't make you weak. It doesn't make you small. It doesn't make you any less of a person. It makes you a bigger person, makes you a more prouder person, and just makes you a happier person in general. So, yeah, I think that quote is so relatable to this discussion that we've had. So it's a really good one. And
definitely, like, any of the quotes that you hear from us, like, we'd love to hear how that makes you feel and what you've taken from the quotes itself. And obviously, anything that you've taken from this episode, please do let us know. We're always open for feedback, and, like, we're always open for a chat.
Definitely. So, next week, we will be bringing on a guest to our show. A guest who has been following us from the start, who has been very open and involved in our discussions, getting involved in our lives. We do contact each other quite a lot through the page, and it's someone that we feel can definitely, shed a light on their experiences in life and give you guys a little insight that they have plucked up the courage to come and talk on this show, and you'll see that it is a normal person who is just happy to share what they're going through. Yeah,
that's it. And it's like, I'm really looking forward to having someone else on. That's obviously what we're going to be doing a lot of
bored of me now, mate.
Mate, I've been bored of you for about 5 years, mate. How long have I known you for at the time? But yeah, so I think also as well, like, we really do want to get more people on as well. So please do reach out to us. And also from our side, like, as we always say, like, we're not mental health professionals. So for us, people in that space as well who work in the mental health services would be an area, or people with certain experience that we'd really love to get on alongside just everyday people, just so we've got different perspectives. So if you yourself work within the mental health services, or you know someone within who works within the mental health services, and you think they might be open to giving our listeners some direction and just, I guess, a bit of their experience, then please do reach out to us, just because I think that would be very, very educational and beneficial for us and everyone watching. So yeah, really looking forward to what's coming up.
100%. And again, Happy New Year to everyone. We wish you all the success and greatness in this year. We want to thank everyone for their support the last couple of months of 2021. We've had a really great response, and we're very grateful for everyone's support, everyone who follows our page, everyone who gets involved, everyone who's reached out. Should be proud of yourself, and we will continue to do so throughout the coming years.
Yeah, definitely, mate.
Cool. So we look forward to chatting with you in the next episode, but for now, take care, chaps. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, we'll see you soon.